Children born in Afghanistan 15 years ago have lived through the worst being the influence of the Taliban. For 5 years, under Taliban rule, Afghanistan was a jail cell for millions of children. There was no peace under the Taliban regime because of their strict rules against women. They put nearly half the population in virtual house arrest and prohibited them from showing their faces, seeking medical care without a male escort, or even attending school. If women had this kind of lack of power in Afghanistan, one can only imagine how much less freedom the children had. Many Afghani children had neither peace nor security because there was always a chance that a Taliban official would unexpectedly come in their houses and take them. One Afghani child named Kabir from Kunduz province was asked about his life under Taliban rule. Before the war with America, there was no life. Under the Taliban, there was too much fighting. General Dotsam, a commander with the Mujahideen and Northern Alliance rebels who fought against the Taliban, stole our animals and killed our people. We had to flee and keep moving to avoid danger. Many other children, just like Kabir, went through these struggles day to day, and also under this 5-year rule, girls were not allowed to attend school and boys were only allowed to attend religious schools. Even though most boys had permission to attend school, the deterioration of security was a major issue. According to the Center for American Progress, as Taliban attacks on schools increased, school attendance began to drop. As of March 2006, at least 100,000 children who had previously attended school no longer did because of Taliban-led threats and attacks on schools. This limited access to education hindered the future of Afghanistan even after the Taliban rule was destroyed. Apart from attacking schools, the Taliban also committed war crimes. As per Amnesty International, the Taliban commit war crimes by targeting civilians, including killing teachers, abducting aid workers, and burning school buildings. Generations of children have had no schooling, and less than 10% of the population is illiterate. 1 in 5 children dies before the age of 5, and the average life expectancy for those who survive childhood is 48, an expectancy that ranks among the lowest in the world. To make matters worse, Islamic militants have been murdering foreign aid workers, which is seriously hampering international aid efforts. James Kundner, the representative of the U.S. Agency for International Development in Kabul, says that Afghanistan poses one of the most complex reconstruction challenges the U.S. government has encountered anywhere. However, the U.S. government continues to help the Afghans, even with the knowledge that they are taking on no easy task. The war in Afghanistan was ruthless, as the death of many civilians who were mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters was devastating. The American government still had a purpose. During his December 1, 2009 speech, President Barack Obama laid down the core of U.S. goals in Afghanistan to disrupt, dismantle, and defeat al-Qaeda and its safe havens in Pakistan, and to prevent their return to Afghanistan. While the U.S. combat mission in Afghanistan is not open-ended, the United States plans to remain politically, diplomatically, and economically engaged in Afghanistan for the long term. This involvement has intentions to improve on the lives of the citizens of that country and on the country as a whole. The war had many harmful effects on innocent people, but the aftermath is to help Afghanistan, specifically the children. Overall, America's involvement in Afghanistan has had a positive effect on Afghani children. After the fall of the Taliban, the U.S. government supported the emergence of a government that is representative of all Afghans and encouraged the UN role in the national reconciliation process in the country. The U.S. has made a long-term commitment to help Afghanistan rebuild itself after years of war. The U.S. and others in the international community currently provide resources and expertise to Afghanistan in a variety of areas, including humanitarian relief and assistance, capacity building, security needs, counter-narcotic programs, and infrastructure projects. In 2001, the UN estimated that 7.5 million Afghans were in need of aid and had warned that more than 100,000 Afghan children may not survive the oncoming winter. Much of the help that Afghani children need comes from all around the world, but President George W. Bush really made a contribution. In his first-time press conference, the president asked every child in America to earn or give $1 that will be used to provide food and medical help for the children of Afghanistan. He continued, "Their country has been through a great deal of war and suffering. Many children there are starving and are severely malnourished. 1 in 3 Afghan children is an orphan. Almost half suffer chronic malnutrition, and we can and must help them." After President Bush's message was received around the country, the American Red Cross received over $1.5 million, which was used to donate 1,500 winter tents, 1,685 winter jackets, and 10,101 gift parcels containing hats, socks, school supplies, toothbrushes, hairbrushes, candy, and toys to Afghanistan. These packages will brighten the lives of Afghan children not only during Ramadan, the Muslim holy month, but throughout the winter, Bush said. "It's a reminder that we are at war with the Taliban regime, not with the good, innocent people of Afghanistan." President Bush also believes that one of the best weapons against terrorism is to show the world the compassion of America. Along with the American Red Cross, UNICEF has put much effort into the issue of Afghani children and their needs. Nigel Fisher, a special UNICEF representative for Afghanistan and neighboring countries, said, "The enormity of the need in Afghanistan means the gift's value is largely symbolic." He also stated that the winter, war-ravaged conditions and continued drought have put at least 1 million Afghan children at risk. With improving the lives of Afghani children, the U.S. government also believes it is important to improve the futures of the Afghani children. Increasing access to education is a primary way to improve on the futures of these children because this way they can take care of themselves when they are educated. President Bush understood this and said, "Under the Taliban regime, educating women was a criminal act. Under the new government of a liberated Afghanistan, educating all children is a national priority." He also said, "The emphasis on education is an important one, because education is the pathway to progress, particularly for women. Nations whose women are educated are more competitive, more prosperous, and more advanced than nations where the education of women is forbidden or ignored." To achieve this mission, blackboards and other school supplies have been shipped to Afghanistan, many of them through America's Fund for Afghan Children, which has raised more than $4.5 million for the effort. Eventually, the Taliban was thrown out of power in 2001, and the U.S. had a goal to improve the education system for all Afghani children. Through this life-changing journey for many Afghans, a big change in the education system took place. In 2001, 775,000 children attended school, and by late 2005 and early 2006, 5.2 million children were attending school. Another problem attacking the children of Afghanistan is the amount of opium in their nation. 94% of this highly addictive drug is produced in Afghanistan and thus is very cheap in that area. Several women are addicted to heroin because their husbands smoke it in the house, and many children become addicted the same way. The children also become addicted when their mothers blow heroin smoke at them to calm them down when they cry. America has a mission to help several people that are addicted, and the United Nations estimates that there are close to 1 million drug addicts in the country, more than 7% of the population. However, there are only 40 residential drug treatment centers in the entire country, helping a little more than 100 users per year. One of the doctors at one of these facilities stated, "Because all their family members are addicted, their child also gets addicted. When their child is in pain, the family doesn't give them medicine, they use the narcotics." Many American organizations wish to aid the helpless and create many more rehabilitation centers so that the children don't grow up addicted. Many Afghans believe that the United States has helped their country. They point to the new highways and buildings, the 4 million children attending school, many for the first time, the growing economy, the new constitution, and the return of more than 2.5 million refugees. One Afghan shopkeeper said, "As long as America is with us, we will start our new lives. We feel hopeful." Some Afghan government officials praise America's positive role in transforming the situation in their country. Today, hope, Peace, education, and construction are replacing despair, destruction, and violence as the prevailing reality in Afghanistan, thanks to your assistance, said Afghanistan's ambassador to the United States, Saeed Tayyib Javad, in December 2003. It is true that several Americans do not believe that the U.S. has had any positive effect on Afghanistan at all, but these children certainly do believe that the Americans brought them peace, security, and a right to be educated. Shukriya, an Afghani girl who is 10 years old, was asked if the war affected her schooling, and she replied, "The biggest change is that I am able to go to school now. Before, when the Taliban was in power, there were no schools for girls and only religious schools for boys. Now we have new chances for jobs and a future." This was exactly the goal of the United States of America when it made the commitment to help Afghanistan for the long term. Another Afghani child, Farnar, agrees with Shukriya. This 13-year-old boy from Kabul was asked if he thought the impact the United States has had on his life has been positive or negative and why. He replied, "The US has been very good for us. Before the Taliban was here and they punished us, they hung people on the streets, they cut off our hands. We couldn't fly kites or listen to music, and men couldn't even shave their mustaches. Now we are free. We can go to school and have a future." In America's view, they have liberated Afghanistan from the repressive policies of the Taliban regime, brought hope to the Afghani people, especially the children, improved security, and made progress in developing the political infrastructure of a modern democracy. With this claim, many Afghans agree, and in the near future, hopefully the world will be able to witness the positive effect of the education Afghani children were able to receive.